Young Mom Assists Injured Jogger realizes he's the secret son. Welcome to this gripping tale of courage, compassion, and secrets that hide behind every familiar face. Today, we follow the extraordinary journey of a young single mother who dares to help an injured stranger, only to discover that he is no ordinary man. When the mask of anonymity is torn away, a profound truth is revealed. This unassuming jogger harbors a connection to the most powerful figure in town. Prepare to be drawn into a world of intrigue, betrayal, and relentless suspense, as each revelation sets off a chain reaction of twists no one could foresee. Make yourself comfortable, for this story, punctuated by scandalous confessions and fateful resolutions, will hold you captive until the very end. Before we dive in, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. If you're excited about this story, let us know. If you enjoyed the video, press 1. If not, press O. Your feedback really inspires me to gather more uplifting and meaningful stories. A shocking encounter. The early morning sun shimmered across Stonewick Park, draping the dew-laden grass in golden light. There, in the hushed stillness, single mother Lucy Lockwood found respite from her endless responsibilities. This was her stolen hour, her daily jog that kept her grounded and offered a rare moment of unencumbered reflection. She loved the crisp scent of the air, the faint chirping of awakening birds, and the promise each sunrise held that life could begin anew. But this morning would differ from all others. On her second lap around the winding path, Lucy's footsteps abruptly halted. A figure lay crumpled by the base of a towering oak tree. At first, she thought he might be asleep or simply resting after an intense workout. Yet the moment her gaze locked onto his pale, contorted expression, panic sprang to life in her chest. He was injured and badly. Heart pounding, Lucy rushed to the stranger's side. Sweat plastered his dark hair against his forehead. His left ankle was twisted at an unnatural angle, and an alarming trickle of blood painted his temple. Without hesitation, Lucy dialed for help. As she waited for paramedics, she knelt beside him, adrenaline surging. She remembered the first aid lessons she had once studied late at night, in hopes of being prepared for any emergency involving her 2-year-old son, Spencer. Cautiously, she spoke to the unconscious man, her voice low and soothing, as though she were whispering a lullaby. When at last he opened his eyes, hazel flecked with green, his gaze fixed on her as if in silent gratitude. Only then did Lucy realize she was trembling. Something about this encounter felt like a pivotal shift, as though the world had tilted on its axis. She had no idea how right she was. A mysterious arrival within minutes, the distant wail of sirens shattered the morning peace. As 2 paramedics sprinted across the field, Lucy stood watch, a protective hand cupped around the stranger's. She didn't know him, but an unspoken bond had already begun to form. He had clung to her fingers with surprising strength, an anchor in his disoriented state. Yet, as soon as the paramedics attempted to load him onto the stretcher, his grip loosened. The man wanted to say something. Unable to find his voice, he merely fixed Lucy with a desperate expression. She offered a reassuring nod, silently promising that she wouldn't abandon him to face this alone. In truth, she felt compelled to see this through. Standing nearby, Lucy overheard snippets of the ambulance conversation, something about a possible concussion, a dislocated ankle, and an ID found in his pocket with an unfamiliar name, Gavin Cox. The paramedics exchanged telling glances. Lucy, eyebrows raised, tried to place the name. Some part of her recognized it, but she couldn't pinpoint why. Once the ambulance door slammed shut, Lucy felt a stirring sense of dread. Moments later, a black sedan, startlingly out of place at that hour, pulled up to the park's entrance with squealing tires. A tall, broad-shouldered man in a dark suit emerged, scanning the surroundings with sharp eyes. When his gaze landed on Lucy, the intensity in his stare made her heart skip a beat. Without a word, he hurried after the departing ambulance. Lucy stood in stunned silence, a swirl of questions igniting her mind. Who was Gavin Cox? And why did he warrant the attention of a man dressed like private security at the crack of dawn? Unanswered questions later that morning, Lucy dropped off Spencer at the local daycare center before rushing to the hospital. She wasn't entirely sure why she felt so invested in this stranger's plight. It might have been the motherly instinct she often carried close to her heart. Or maybe it was the flicker of recognition in those intense green-flecked eyes. All she knew was that she needed answers. At the hospital's reception desk, the nurse confirmed that Gavin Cox had been admitted for emergency surgery on his ankle. The blow to his head required observation overnight, but no life-threatening complications had appeared. Lucy felt an unaccountable wave of relief wash over her. Yet it wasn't just concern for a fellow human being that fueled her determination to see him. There was something bigger looming beneath the surface. Visiting hours start at noon, the nurse informed her, but I'm afraid only immediate family are allowed in for now. Lucy thanked her, stepping away to gather her thoughts. The question that gnawed at her was whether Gavin Cox had anyone who could stand by him. Why, if he was so important, had he been alone in the park? And who was that suited man who arrived so promptly on the scene? As Lucy prepared to leave, she overheard two hospital staff whispering in hushed tones by the vending machines. Snippets of conversation seized her attention. Mayor Caldwell, "Hush, hush, can you believe it?" Lucy paused. Curiosity piqued. Mayor Caldwell was a name that resonated with every resident in West Haven. He was notoriously private, fiercely protective of his reputation, and seemingly invincible in local politics. But how could Gavin Cox be linked to the mayor? Though it felt intrusive, Lucy sidled closer, eavesdropping. She caught bits and pieces that hinted at a scandal, rumors of an illegitimate child, a hushed arrangement, city resources redirected to conceal some shameful secret. It was almost too shocking to be real, like fodder for gossip columns. Shaking off her disbelief, Lucy left the hospital with her mind racing. This puzzle had more layers than she'd anticipated. The mayor's secret. By nightfall, Lucy's curiosity had grown into a restless compulsion. Once she put Spencer to bed, she retreated to the dim glow of her laptop in the living room. She typed Gavin Cox West Haven into the search bar, but only a few scattered social media profiles came up, none featuring a photograph that matched the man she'd helped. However, Lucy's sleuthing took a pivotal turn when she discovered a public record from 6 years prior. It showed a legal name change. Gavin Caldwell to Gavin Cox. Her pulse quickened. Caldwell was Mayor Caldwell's surname. Could it be a mere coincidence? Lucy refused to believe so. The hush-hush nature of his hospital admission and the presence of that ominous suited figure suggested something covert. She delved deeper. The official records indicated a sealed adoption file. Documents had been heavily redacted, but one snippet mentioned Mayor Thomas Caldwell as a paternal figure. There were no details on the mother. Lucy's breath caught in her throat. If the rumor proved true, Gavin Cox was the mayor's secret son, the product of a past affair or hidden relationship, carefully shielded from the public eye. But why had he changed his name? Why was he alone, living apart from the father who ruled City Hall with an iron fist? Questions swarmed her mind, but the path to answers felt uncertain. All she knew was that fate had interwoven her life with Gavin's in an inexplicable way. Lucy snapped her laptop shut, heart pounding. She had stumbled upon a powerful secret, one that Mayor Caldwell would likely do anything to protect. A strange visit. The next morning, Lucy's determination crystallized. She decided to check on Gavin at the hospital again, but an unsettling tension shadowed her every step. Something about crossing into the mayor's domain terrified her. If he had concealed a son for years, who was to say he wouldn't go to extreme lengths to keep the truth hidden? Lucy arrived at Gavin's room just as a nurse stepped out. Now conscious, he lay propped against pillows, bandages wrapped around his ankle and a small butterfly stitch above his eye. Relief flickered across his expression when he recognized Lucy from the park. Mustering a weak smile, he gestured for her to sit. "Thank you," he said, voice raspy. "The nurses told me you're the one who called for help." Lucy swallowed the nervous knot in her throat. "I'm just glad you're okay. They told me you were in surgery for your ankle." Gavin averted his gaze, tension etched in his features. "I should be fine. Just a few months of physical therapy," he murmured, then let silence stretch. Eventually, with a shaky exhale, he asked, "Were you alone when you found me?" The question hung heavily in the air. Lucy remembered the suited man who had appeared so suddenly. She nodded, carefully gauging Gavin's reaction. "No one else was around when I arrived, but someone in a black sedan came to the park right after the ambulance took you." He looked worried or maybe upset. A flicker of understanding glinted in Gavin's eyes. Clearly he knew who the man was, yet he said nothing. Instead, he fiddled with the corner of his hospital blanket, lips pressed into a tight line. "I'm sorry you got dragged into this," he eventually breathed. I didn't want anyone involved." Lucy, forging courage, pressed on. "Listen, I have to ask. Are you related to Mayor Caldwell?" For a moment, she feared Gavin would toss her out. He stared at the ceiling, jaw clenched. Then, as though carrying the weight of the world, he nodded. "He's my father." Lucy's heart thudded. The rumors were true. Then why the secrecy? She probed, her tone gentle. A bitter laugh escaped him. "Because he has an image to protect. My mere existence complicates that. Secrets unveiled." Over the next hour, Gavin revealed fragments of his life. Mayor Caldwell had pursued politics with unrelenting ambition. Then, nearly 3 decades earlier, a secret affair produced a child, Gavin. Fearing scandal, Caldwell's advisors arranged a private adoption, providing hush money to ensure the mother's silence. Gavin was raised by a distant relative under the surname Cox. For years, Gavin believed his father was deceased. But upon turning 21, he pieced together the truth. Mayor Thomas Caldwell was his birth father. Desperate for a relationship, Gavin confronted him. The mayor agreed to discreetly finance Gavin's college education and offer him a future under one condition: Gavin must never acknowledge their relationship publicly. Every meeting was conducted in hotel conference rooms or in remote vacation homes. There were no family gatherings, no pictures. Gavin was an unspoken secret, doomed to remain a footnote in the mayor's life. "I tried to break free," Gavin admitted, voice cracking. "But he's powerful. He wields influence like a sword." He paused, adjusting the bandage on his temple. "I was jogging that morning, trying to clear my head. We'd just had an argument. I told him I didn't want to remain a secret anymore. He told me to leave West Haven if I couldn't keep my mouth shut." Tears pricked Lucy's eyes. She felt an odd combination of rage and compassion swirling in her chest. She didn't know Mayor Caldwell personally, but she had seen him on TV smiling, shaking hands, kissing babies. She never suspected the emotional devastation hidden beneath that polished exterior. Gavin turned to Lucy, his eyes filled with quiet gratitude. "I'm sorry for dragging you into this. You saved my life, and I don't even know your full name." "Lucy Lockwood," she replied softly, "and I'm happy I could help." They shared a brief moment of silent understanding. Fate had woven their paths together, two individuals with struggles that rarely saw the light of day. In the hallway, Lucy could almost sense the presence of watchful eyes. If Caldwell discovered that Gavin was forging a friendship with a stranger who knew his secret, Lucy could become a target. Threatening shadows. Despite her trepidations, Lucy couldn't deny her growing concern for Gavin. She resolved to look in on him daily until he was discharged. One afternoon, while returning from her visit, Lucy found herself cornered in the hospital parking lot by the same tall, suited man she had spotted at the park. He blocked her path with an air of intimidating confidence. "You're Lucy Lockwood, correct?" His tone was as cold as the steel and glass structure behind them. Lucy's heart pounded, but she summoned her courage. "Who's asking?" The man reached into his inner pocket, flashing a gold-embossed business card that simply read Oswald Pierce, Chief of Staff, Office of Mayor Caldwell. No phone number, no address, just an emblem of the city. Lucy's stomach twisted. "I'm here to advise you," he said smoothly. "Gavin Cox's affairs are private. The mayor wishes to avoid any further complications." He paused, offering Lucy a tight smile. "We appreciate that you provided assistance. Let's keep matters quiet and unburdensome for all parties." Something about his phrasing set Lucy's nerves on edge. It sounded like a veiled threat. "I'm not looking to cause any trouble," she said, carefully measuring her words. "Gavin needed help, and I offered it. That's all." Oswald's lip curled, glad to hear it. However, the mayor values discretion, especially in sensitive family matters. "We wouldn't want rumors to spread." Lucy bristled at his patronizing tone. She felt a powerful wave of protectiveness, not only for Gavin, but for her own child. Men like Oswald Pierce and Thomas Caldwell believed they could manipulate others with their wealth and connections. Lucy refused to be cowed. She lifted her chin. "I'm not the rumor-mongering type." A flicker of annoyance crossed Oswald's face. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "We'll make sure you remember that." Lucy watched as he retreated to his sedan. Fear slithered through her veins, but beneath it simmered a rebellious spark. She had no intention of selling Gavin out, but she also refused to be threatened. The mayor's right-hand man had no idea who he was dealing with. Lucy had faced down hardship before juggling single motherhood, financial stress, and social stigma. She wouldn't retreat now, closer than before. In the days that followed, Lucy felt torn between secrecy and loyalty. She visited Gavin regularly, forging an unlikely friendship over discussions of everything from hospital food to parental betrayals. Gavin, meanwhile, seemed to appreciate her presence as a balm against the oppressive aura of secrecy in his life. Between Lucy's visits and his physical therapy sessions, he grew stronger every day. During one visit, Gavin stared out the window at the bustling streets below. "Some days I wonder what my life would have been like if my father had acknowledged me," he murmured. "Wah, it's not just about money. It's about being wanted." Lucy felt a pang of sympathy. "I can't pretend to know what you've been through," she said gently, "but maybe it's time for you to stand on your own terms. If he doesn't accept you publicly, you can still forge your path without him." A wistful smile touched Gavin's lips. "You make it sound so simple, but if I walk away, I lose everything. My apartment is under his name. My job prospects rely on his connections." He paused, swallowing. "I'm a prisoner of his generosity." Lucy recalled Oswald's threatening stance in the parking lot. How powerful and unstoppable the mayor's machinery seemed. She understood that Gavin's entanglements ran deeper than she'd imagined. "Then, maybe it's time to tear down that prison," she whispered. Gavin turned to her, that determined spark flickering in his eyes. "Yeah," he finally said, "maybe it is." An unexpected ally after Gavin's discharge from the hospital, Lucy insisted on driving him back to his apartment. It was a modest, well-kept unit in a building rumored to be part-owned by a subsidiary of the mayor's real estate investments. Lucy noticed an SUV with tinted windows parked across the street as they pulled in. A shiver prickled across her skin. Inside, Gavin limped to a plush armchair, wincing as he settled in. Lucy helped him prop his foot on a cushion. She wondered how heavily the mayor's watchful eyes weighed on Gavin every day. Then, just as she was about to leave, someone knocked on the door. Gavin stiffened. Lucy's heart skipped. When Gavin opened the door, they saw a woman in her 50s, wearing a pristine blazer and exuding an air of quiet authority. Lucy recognized her face from campaign posters around West Haven Deputy Mayor Sandra Herrera. Her presence sent Lucy's thoughts spinning. If she was here, that meant politics were definitely involved. "Gavin," Sandra began in a calm, steady voice. "May I come in?" He stepped aside wordlessly, worry etched on his features. The woman's gaze flicked to Lucy, sizing her up. "You must be Lucy Lockwood." "Gavin's told me a little about you." Lucy blinked. "He did?" Sandra nodded. "I've known about Gavin for a while now, and I'm not here as a representative of Mayor Caldwell. I'm here because I'm concerned for Gavin's welfare." She closed the door behind her, lowering her voice. "I was a friend of Gavin's mother long before the mayor wanted her out of the picture." A tension-laden hush enveloped the room as Sandra explained that she had once been close with Gavin's mother, Josephine. She had watched in dismay as Mayor Caldwell's political aspirations overshadowed every human bond in his life. Though Sandra remained loyal to the city administration, she felt Gavin's predicament was unjust. She had quietly offered him emotional support from time to time, but she couldn't risk exposing the mayor's secret either, or she'd lose her position and her ability to influence local policy for the better. "I've reached my limit," Sandra admitted, voice quavering with suppressed anger. "Thomas Caldwell has gone too far. He's using city funds to silence people, forging real estate deals that enrich his allies. Gavin, if you want to step out of his shadow, I'm prepared to help." Gavin and Lucy exchanged astonished looks. Sandra Herrera, a high-ranking official siding with Gavin, could be a game-changer. But it also meant stepping into the line of fire. Treading dangerous ground, meeting Sandra sparked a shift in Gavin's outlook. He stayed holed up in his apartment for a week, plotting his next move. Lucy often stopped by with groceries or home-cooked meals, while Sandra discreetly slipped him inside information on the mayor's machinations. Each revelation was more staggering than the last. Mayor Caldwell had orchestrated backroom deals on city projects, awarding contracts to cronies in return for political favors. He even diverted budget allocations meant for low-income housing into hush funds to cover personal indiscretions, including his arrangement to keep Gavin's existence under wraps. The sheer scope of his corruption was staggering. "If I speak up," Gavin whispered one evening, scanning the newly supplied documents, "my father's entire empire might topple." "But what about retribution? People like Oswald Pierce won't sit still while I blow the whistle." Lucy's pulse hammered. She had a child to protect. She feared how the mayor's men might retaliate if Gavin made these secrets public. Yet a sense of righteousness pressed on her heart. There was a moral imperative to do what was right. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "bringing the truth into the open is the only way to break the cycle of fear. But you have to decide if that's your path." Gavin looked at Lucy's small but resolute figure, then at the sweet face of Spencer in a photo on Lucy's phone. He recognized that Lucy's involvement placed her at risk. He recognized Sandra's job was at risk, and yet, if they remained silent, Caldwell would continue trampling on West Haven's people for personal gain. That night, Gavin typed up a statement, outlining every detail of his father's deception and corruption. It included references to the hush money and shady real estate deals. Sandra offered her assistance in finalizing it. They planned to leak the information anonymously to the West Haven Tribune, a respected local newspaper known for its investigative reporting. Gavin insisted they also include references to the finances allocated to hush up not just him, but other potential controversies. It was a bold, nearly suicidal move. But in his heart, Gavin knew it was time to sever the chains binding him to a father who never showed love, only control. A frantic chase. The next morning, Lucy escorted Gavin to her car. He clutched a flash drive containing the incriminating documents. They intended to deliver it personally to a Tribune journalist who had agreed to meet them at a discreet location. However, Lucy instantly noticed a black SUV crawling along the curb as soon as they stepped outside. They slid into Lucy's modest hatchback, tension thick in the air. Sure enough, the SUV pulled out behind them. "We've got company," Lucy muttered, her knuckles tightened around the steering wheel. 1,000 cautionary alarms blared in her mind. She had Spencer to think about. She had a stable life to preserve. Yet none of that would matter if she let fear snuff out the truth. Gavin's face blanched as he gazed over his shoulder. "That's Pierce's men," he said shakily. "They must have tapped my phone. They know we're up to something." Lucy pressed the gas pedal harder, weaving through midday traffic with a nervous determination. The SUV sped up, matching her every turn. She felt a rush of adrenaline akin to a scene from a thriller movie, only this was disturbingly real. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she negotiated side streets, hoping to lose their pursuers. Every time she tried a sudden turn, the SUV reappeared. Onlookers gawked at the cat-and-mouse chase unfolding near the city's commercial district. Lucy considered calling the police, but who in the police department might be in the mayor's pocket? The panic soared. Finally, Lucy spotted a narrow lane leading to a construction site. She swerved, tires screeching, and raced into the half-finished multi-level parking structure. The SUV barreled in after them, but Lucy navigated tight corners up the winding ramps, pushing her car to its limits. The bigger vehicle struggled to maneuver. For a few critical moments, Lucy and Gavin lost sight of their pursuers. Lucy exhaled, turning to Gavin. "Go. Take the flash drive. I'll lead them away if they come after the car. There's a stairwell to the roof. Maybe you can slip out." Gavin stared at her in shock. "I can't leave you here." Her eyes flashed with determination. "You have to get that to the Tribune. West Haven depends on it." With palpable reluctance, Gavin nodded and bolted from the car, wincing as he put weight on his still healing ankle. Lucy slid back into the driver's seat, started the engine, and braced herself. Within seconds, headlights flooded her mirrors. The SUV screeched around a pillar, blocking her exit. Lucy reversed, heart drumming, then sped down a different ramp, effectively luring the men after her. The roar of the chase reverberated against the concrete walls. Her entire body trembled with fear, but she steeled herself. If Gavin escaped with the evidence, there was a chance to unmask Caldwell's corruption. Lucy pressed the pedal to the floor, adrenaline fueling her as she thought of Spencer, of everything she hoped to protect. This had to end. The press room revelation. Gavin slipped through the parking structure's stairwell, half hobbling on his injured ankle. His mind buzzed with urgency. He exited onto the roof, where a makeshift bridge connected to an adjacent building undergoing renovation. With cautious steps, he traversed the creaking planks, scanning the ground below for any sign of pursuit. Relief washed over him when he reached the other side without incident. Soon he found himself descending into a bustling business district. He tried to blend into the crowd, ignoring the pain surging through his ankle. At last, he limped into the West Haven Tribune building, panting and flushed with anxiety. The receptionist, startled by his disheveled appearance, directed him upstairs. There, in a cluttered office stacked with newspapers and half-empty coffee cups, he met the investigative reporter, Kiara Reynolds, a no-nonsense woman who had garnered awards for exposing illegal dumping by a major chemical company a year earlier. Her eyes flickered with curiosity and concern as Gavin introduced himself. "I have something that will rock West Haven to its core," he said, sliding the flash drive across the desk. Kiara glanced at the device, then at Gavin's haunted expression. "What am I looking at?" she asked calmly. Proof of Mayor Caldwell's corruption, Gavin replied, voice steadied by purpose. And proof that he's my father. He's hidden me for years, but it's time Westhaven knew the truth. Kiara's eyebrows shot up. This is major. Are you sure about going public? Gavin nodded, pushing down the fear twisting in his gut. If we don't stop him, he'll keep exploiting the city. And he'll keep using people like pawns. Kiara studied Gavin for a moment, then slid her laptop across the desk. All right, let's see what we've got. As the files loaded, Kiara's face tightened in shock. Within minutes, her expression was one of resolute determination. This is more than enough for a special expose, she said quietly. But we need to verify certain details, get confirmation sources, or the mayor will bury us in lawsuits. Gavin exhaled, leaning back in the worn office chair. That's why I need your help, to make sure this doesn't vanish or get dismissed as a rumor. For the first time in years, he felt the stirrings of hope. If the Tribune acted fast, Caldwell's web of corruption could finally come undone. Lucy's capture. Meanwhile, Lucy's plan to divert Pierce's men worked at a steep cost. After a dangerous cat and mouse chase through multiple levels, Lucy's car was finally cornered near the garage exit. She tried throwing the car in reverse again, but the SUV rammed into her fender, causing her vehicle to spin and stall. A wave of dizziness overcame her as the driver's side door was yanked open. Two men with stern expressions seized Lucy, dragging her out into the parking structure's dim light. She could taste the metallic tang of fear in her mouth as she was pushed against a concrete pillar. "Where is he?" snarled one of the men, his eyes flicking like a predator's. Lucy mustered her defiance. "He got away," she spat, chest heaving. "Tell us where he's headed." She bit her lip, refusing to reply. That silence earned her a backhanded slap that made her ears ring. Lucy's mind spun with fear and anger. The men rummaged through her car, presumably searching for the flash drive or any clue of Gavin's location. When they found nothing, the second man, stocky and cold-eyed, yanked Lucy to her feet, phone in hand. "Pierce, we've got her," he reported over the line. "No sign of Cox. Looks like she was helping him." Lucy trembled but held herself as tall as possible. She didn't want them to see her fear. She thought of Spencer, longing to see her son again. The stocky man grabbed Lucy's arm. "We're taking her in. The boss will want to question her personally." At that moment, Lucy felt certain she was on a collision course with Caldwell's wrath. She found a spark of resolve in the image of Gavin escaping, carrying the truth that could bring down a corrupt empire. That spark sustained her as the men dragged her into the SUV and roared away from the parking structure, leaving her battered car behind. Into the lion's den night fell on Westhaven, city lights glittering against a velvet sky. Lucy was taken to an austere building in the industrial sector, one of Caldwell's rumored private holdings. The men shoved her into a dimly lit room. Dust motes swirled in the faint overhead glow. Her captors bound her wrists to a metal chair, leaving her vulnerable. Minutes later, Oswald Pierce swept in, his polished shoes echoing across the concrete floor. He wore that same aloof expression Lucy had seen in the hospital parking lot. Only this time, it was laced with a menacing undertone. He stood before her, arms folded. "You've meddled in affairs that do not concern you," Pierce hissed. "We gave you fair warning." Lucy glared back, ignoring the sting of her swollen cheek. "You threatened me for helping an injured man." Pierce leaned in. "You really think you can stand against the mayor of Westhaven? People have been buried under lesser scandals." He stepped aside, revealing a figure in the shadows. Lucy's pulse lurched. The silhouette shifted into the glow, revealing none other than Mayor Thomas Caldwell himself. He was tall, imposing, a man used to commanding attention. His neatly tailored suit contrasted with the grim, dusty surroundings. "Miss Lockwood," he said in a cool, even tone. I regret this unfortunate situation, but you left me no choice. Lucy's heart hammered in her chest. She locked eyes with the man whose face graced campaign billboards all across the city. This was the father Gavin had wanted acceptance from, a man who now hovered like a snake, poised to strike. "You should have left well enough alone," Caldwell continued. "Your involvement in my family's private matters is unfortunate. We'll have to rectify that." Lucy steeled herself, refusing to show fear. "So that's it? You intend to lock me away so no one hears your dirty laundry?" A sharp laugh escaped Caldwell's lips. "Lock you away? That sounds medieval." He flicked a glance at Pierce, who stepped forward. "We prefer more modern solutions. I trust you understand that you're in a precarious position, Miss Lockwood. Cooperate, and you might get out of this unharmed." The great exposure. While Lucy faced Caldwell's intimidation, Gavin and Kiara Reynolds worked quickly. The West Haven Tribune launched a real-time investigation that same evening, verifying the leaked documents through cross-referencing city records. Deputy Mayor Sandra Herrera confirmed key details. The paper's editor, seeing the magnitude of the story, prepared a front-page expose set to publish online at dawn. Unbeknownst to Caldwell, within hours, the Tribune's website would unleash a tidal wave of revelations. But Caldwell had a nasty surprise of his own. He intended to force Lucy into recanting any knowledge, or worse, to eliminate her as a potential witness if needed. Back in the warehouse-like room, Caldwell paced in front of Lucy, phone in hand. "I've received word that Gavin has gone to the Tribune. Tell me, Miss Lockwood, do you think his evidence will make a difference?" He chuckled coldly. "I've buried bigger scandals." The public forgets easily when the right players are greased. Lucy swallowed hard, but a sliver of defiance still gleamed in her eyes. "You underestimate the truth, Mr. Mayor." Just then, a distant commotion broke through the tension. Shouts echoed in the corridor, followed by the unmistakable sound of hurried footsteps. Pierce reached for his gun, but before he could react, armed members of the West Haven Police Department stormed inside. Leading them was the Tribune reporter Kiara Reynolds, brandishing her press badge, with none other than Deputy Mayor Sandra Herrera stepping in beside her. "Thomas Caldwell, step away from Lucy Lockwood," Sandra commanded, her voice ringing out like a clarion call. Several officers aimed their guns, making it clear that resistance would be futile. A stunned expression crossed Caldwell's face. Pierce cursed under his breath, dropping the weapon. Lucy slumped in her chair, relief mingling with disbelief at the sudden rescue. Sandra fixed Caldwell with a look of utter disgust. "The Tribune's story is live. We have enough proof to launch a full investigation into your corruption. This ends tonight." Karmic retribution. In the hours that followed, the city reeled from the shockwaves of the Tribune's revelations. Hard evidence linked Caldwell to misappropriation of funds, bribery, and the orchestrated concealment of his illegitimate son's existence. The West Haven police, spurred by public outrage and backed by a citywide call for accountability, arrested Caldwell and Pierce. The wheels of justice began to turn. Lucy was taken to the hospital for a medical checkup. Though bruised and shaken, she was immensely grateful to see Spencer's bright eyes when she finally embraced him. Sandra, abiding by her sense of justice, vowed to lead West Haven responsibly until a special election could be held. In an ironic twist, it was Caldwell's downfall that paved the way for a more transparent administration. Meanwhile, Gavin found himself flooded with attention. Reporters clamored for interviews, demanding every detail of his life in the mayor's shadow. Though uneasy with the spotlight, Gavin recognized the importance of sharing his story. He spoke openly about how Caldwell's wealth and influence had kept him isolated, revealing the emotional toll of being a secret. Public sentiment rallied around him, painting Gavin as a tragic figure who must now piece together a life free from Caldwell's manipulations. Mayor Caldwell was ultimately charged with multiple counts, including embezzlement of public funds and conspiracy to commit assault based on Lucy's testimony regarding her captivity. The city council unanimously voted for his removal, stripping him of power once deemed untouchable. In a final blow to his pride, Caldwell's greatest political rivals seized on the scandal, ensuring that every skeleton in his closet was laid bare. As for Lucy, she emerged from the ordeal stronger and more resolute. She had stared down a corrupt political machine and emerged victorious. She knew she owed this moment to her courage and to friends who refused to turn a blind eye to injustice. In her heart, Lucy felt a renewed sense of purpose. No matter how daunting the circumstances, doing what was right never went unrewarded in the end. A new dawn 2 weeks after Caldwell's arrest, Lucy strolled through Stonewick Park with Spencer in tow. The same park where she had first found Gavin, injured and alone. The morning sun bathed the grass in a soft glow, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. Life had come full circle. Gavin, now walking with a supportive brace on his ankle, approached them at a serene spot near the oak tree. Seeing Spencer toddle around with a wide grin spread across his face warmed Gavin's heart. He crouched to greet the little boy, offering a half smile. "Look at him go. He'll be faster than me soon." Lucy laughed, relieved to see Gavin's spirits improving. "You're a free man, Gavin. No more secrets, no more hush money. How does it feel?" He gazed out across the park. "Liberating and terrifying. I have to build my life from scratch, but at least it's my life, on my terms." They found a bench in the shade and sat together, letting the tranquil surroundings envelop them. Gavin explained that he planned to start a community outreach program for at-risk youth, channeling what money he had left saved from the monthly allowances Caldwell had once provided into a cause that truly mattered. He hoped in a way to rewrite his legacy. Lucy, for her part, had been showered with admiration by neighbors and colleagues alike. Many praised her bravery. Yet Lucy humbly insisted that she had only done what any caring human should do: help someone in need and stand against injustice when it threatened someone's life. Nevertheless, offers for better employment and local recognition now came her way. In that moment, with the golden sunlight cascading through the treetops, Lucy felt a peace she hadn't known in years. The heartbreaks and anxieties of single motherhood didn't vanish, but she felt stronger, capable of facing any challenge. Life threw her way. Gavin reached over and gently squeezed her hand. "Thank you, Lucy," he said, voice filled with earnest gratitude, "for everything." She met his gaze, returning his warm smile. "It's the least I could do for a friend." They both looked at Spencer, squealing in delight as he chased after a butterfly. The city of West Haven might still have to grapple with the aftermath of Caldwell's corruption, but at least the truth was out. And that truth, like Spencer's laughter echoing through the park, was a beacon of hope for the future. Thank you for joining us on this gripping journey of hidden identities, breathtaking showdowns, and triumphant justice. Our young mother, Lucy, discovered a sense of purpose she never knew she possessed, and the mayor's secret son found the courage to reclaim his life. Their intertwining paths proved that acts of kindness can spark change in the most unlikely ways. With the mayor's corruption exposed, West Haven stands on the brink of a brighter tomorrow, one fueled by unwavering determination and moral conviction. If you enjoyed this story of courage against all odds, don't forget to hit that like button, share this tale with friends and loved ones, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that celebrate hope and resilience.